We also see increased dissonance. So you're going to see frequent use of 7ths, 9ths, 11ths, and 13ths. You're going to see frequent use of augmented 6th chords and an increased general level of dissonance in the early 19th century music. So they would favor accented dissonances. Accented dissonances just mean that the dissonance is on the downbeat, or it's on the strong beat. So like if you're in 4/4, it's going to be on beat 1 and 3 rather than the weak beats 2 and 4. So there's an emphasis. All it means is they're putting an emphasis on the dissonance, okay? So in this case, you can see our dissonance between our E sharps, right? Right here, totally dissonant chord on the downbeat. Dissonant chord on the downbeat, okay? So watch out for those. This is 5/9. So you're going to get a lot of that. Tristan he sold. All right. Also, here's another big one. This refers to 13.1. So pay attention here for this assignment. The increased chromaticism of 19th century complicated the notation of music with the result that enharmonic spellings of chords and melodic lines became more frequent. So all that means is instead of calling a chord BDF, right? They can enharmonically spell it as C flat. Let's see. So they could enharmonically spell it starting with a C flat, right? So they could do C flat, E double flat, G double flat, and that would be the same. So watch out for those. This is where you find all these crazy double flats and double sharps. It's usually due to enharmonic spellings of stuff. And you're going to have to take these into consideration. So if you see a crazy, crazy spelling of something with double flats and or double sharps, or lots of flats and lots of sharps, think about if it could be enharmonic, if there's an easier way to spell that. So you can see here, and there is at least in this, in the 8th edition, there's a wrong spelling of a chord here. There's a publishing error right here. So if we look at possible enharmonic spellings, so this first chord, and they did this kind of confusingly, but so this chord right here is down here on this line A, and these 3 are the other possible enharmonic spellings. So you could have, D, F, A flat, C flat, and because they're diminished 7th chords, they're all stacked up on minor thirds. So you can take any combination of these, spell them enharmonically, put any of these notes on the bottom, and you'll still get a sort of stacked up root position chord, which is why Romantic composers love it so much, because they can basically start with any chord on the bottom, get the same effect, and then go to pretty much any key they want. So that these are definitely used all the time. These diminished 7th chords are used in modulation like crazy. So here we've got D, F, A flat, C flat. You can also respell that by taking the E flat, or the D, and calling it an E double flat, and you pop it up here, and you've got F, A flat, C, E double flat, all right? So it's going to be the same notes in the same spot on the keyboard, although in this case it moves up an octave. But it's still the same pitch, right? It's just a different spelling of it. Now, our next chord, there's actually an error in the text. They accidentally left it at B sharp, D, F, A, and all these chords should have been moved down. The real enharmonic spelling should be G sharp, B, D, F natural. Right? So all you're doing is taking this A flat right here, right, and calling it a G sharp. You take the C flat, call it a B, and then you add the D and the F. And same with this one. So you've got the B, D, F, right? Your B is the same as C flat. Those are enharmonics, right? call your A flat right up there, and then you've got your B and F, or D and F, already in the chord. All right, other possibilities? So, and you can do this for any chord, almost any key. These are the most common three. So here you can see D sharp, F sharp, A, C. You can respell it as F sharp, A, C, E flat, or A, C, E flat, G flat. Right? So you just take that G flat and F sharp, those two are interchangeable. The D sharp and the E flat, those two are interchangeable. Right? C, B double flat, right? Interchangeable with A. Totally be the same thing. Okay? So that's how you do it. And same with C. So this is the enharmonic spelling of an E minor diminished, an E diminished chord, right? E natural diminished. So you can replace the E with an F flat. It's going to be the same pitch. So it's just all about replacing the notes. And we'll get into more of that as we go into the assignment. But that's what enharmonic spellings are. Now they can take these enharmonic spellings and resolve in any way they want, because any tone of a diminished seventh chord is a potential leading tone, right? All of these are tritones, right? So you've got a tritone between the F and the C flat. You also have a tritone between the D and the A flat. Basically, it's two tritones sandwiched together, and they can resolve pretty much any way they want. It's just a bunch of tritones. So in this case, you could take this D diminished seventh chord, right? And it could go quite a few different places. So this right here, our D diminished seventh chord, this guy right here, all right? If you spell him this way, he can go to E flat, right? So the seventh, that's C flat, right here, it's going to drop down to B flat, just down a half step. So the seventh drops down a half step, and the D resolves up to the E flat, right? So those two kick in as long as the seventh drops down, and the bass note, the root, step up to E flat. In this case, you just respell it. So this is our F, A flat, C flat, E double flat. This spelling right here corresponds to this guy. And with F on the bottom, notice the root just steps up to G flat. So now we've resolved to G flat, and we're in the key of G flat. Here we resolve an E to E flat, meaning we're in the key of E flat. We could have been in any other key prior to this. Here, this guy corresponds to this one, right? So we've got our G flat, or G sharp on the bottom, resolves up to A. Now we're in the key of A. And this guy corresponds with this. This one's here. So now we're in, same thing. Our B is on the bottom, B natural, right? Steps up, resolves to C. So now we're in the key of C. So we can, with this one chord, one single chord, go to 4 different keys. We've got 4 options for resolving to one, and then therefore modulating into E flat, or modulating into G flat, or modulating to A, or modulating to C. And we can be, this can function, this diminished seventh chord as a diminished seventh, right? In the key of E, it can function as a diminished 2 chord. It could be a 7 of 5. It could be a lot of things, and we can use it and manipulate it to get to almost any key we want. So that is the beauty of enharmonic spellings of diminished seventh chords, fully diminished seventh chords. You can see in this string quartet, we've got our diminished seventh, right? In A, resolves to E flat. which then we're now in E flat. Puts us into E flat minor. It's just a nice little enharmonic spelling. So there's that. All right, the other thing that you're going to find is common tone diminished seventh chords. All right, so an alternative resolution of a diminished seventh chord is to a major triad or major minor seventh chord, whose root is one of the tones of the diminished seventh sonority. So you're going to see, and usually this happens when dealing with a raised 2 or a raised 6th chord. But what's going to happen is you'll start with 1, you go to your raised 2, and then you're going to keep the F, right? So this common tone stays. This resolves up, right? And then everything else moves to its nearest chord tone. You're going to end up on in the key of F. Okay? Same with this one. So we're going to keep the C. So we know that C is going to be the common tone. It's going to go to 5. All right? Now keep in mind, when you're dealing with a raised 2 chord, it's always going to go to 1. When you're dealing with a raised 6 chord, that is a common tone diminished 7th, it's going to go to 5. Right? And the most important thing is you've got to keep that common tone. So, the most common are the raised supertonic 7th, which means this diminished 2 chord with a raised root, or the raised submediant, which is this raised 6th chord, right? And it could be in any inversion. That part doesn't matter. Okay? You can see here, more common tones. So we've got our raised 2 chord, a raised supertonic. We keep, in this case, it's in the bass. So we're going to keep the common tone, F, and then move to F. So it's going to move to 1. And in this case, again, it's in the bass. And we've got a raised 6th chord, and it's going to move to 5/7. So the rest of the tones are pretty much going to be moved a half step upwards. Okay? And then occasionally the other chord moves to its nearest common tone. Okay? So they were much more common during the 19th century. As you can see, we've got here, we've got our common tone chords moving all the way through here, right? Keeping that common tone. It moves to 1. Same with this one. There's 6 to 5. We're just keeping these common tones. So the A is going to stick around. Everything else moves. There's our A and our A. And it's going to stay. So yeah, just keep those common tones. That's all there is to it. Easy peasy.